Hello and welcome to the Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friend. If you've been looking for a podcast geared towards your growth, self-awareness, navigating your brain's daily mind drama, and deep inner work to become your highest and best self, you are in the perfect place. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Becoming Your Highest Self podcast. How are you all? It has been so long since you've gotten an episode from me. It's been 14 days since you all have gotten a new episode from me. And that being that we have been working on the exterior of our house for the last 2 weeks. It's been a major project. When we bought our home, it had been renovated, and the inside is what made us fall in love with the house and is what made us purchase it. The outside, they had definitely, made some changes to, but honestly, we weren't super happy with the way it looked. They had just whitewashed the brick and they hadn't updated the trim, so that was beaten up and this tannish brown color that would just kill my soul. If you don't know me well, I am someone that loves interior design. I love architecture. I'm an attention to detail type of gal. I notice the things that most people don't. And so every time I would leave our house pulling out of the driveway, I was just like, the trim just really kills my soul. So I was just going to paint the trim white and leave our house the way that it had always been. But my husband, the way that I feel about the trim is the way that my husband feels about the outer brick, like the whitewash brick that they did. He's hated it since we bought the house. And he was like, if you're going to paint the trim, we're just going to redo the entire exterior of our house because I absolutely hate everything about it. So we did, and we've spent the last 2 weeks doing that. The funky thing about, Kentucky weather is you really, especially with exterior projects, is that you have to do it whenever the weather's going to be nice. So most of the time I record podcasts on Sunday nights, and most of the days that we've had that have been beautiful have been Sundays and Mondays. And so, throughout the week, I'm working with my coaching clients and all of that good stuff. And so it's just been a crazy 2 weeks, but I have missed you all. I've missed doing the podcast, and I'm excited to be back. Hopefully it gave you some time to maybe catch up on some episodes that you've never heard before. I've been getting people saying, I miss being able to drive. I just miss my drive time because that's when I would listen to a lot of different podcasts. And I understand that because when I'm driving, that's when I listen to the majority of them as well. But oh gosh, you guys, this COVID-19 is something crazy, isn't it? I hope that you guys are taking care of yourselves and holding up well. So speaking of all of that, this week we're going to talk about the mind and what it means whenever it tries to tell you that you're confused about something. This has been coming up for me a lot, and I would be lying if I told you guys that even the last 2 weeks of doing all of the exterior work on our house, that the last 2 weeks have also been very mentally and emotionally challenging for me. I would even say spiritually challenging at times because my brain keeps telling me that I'm confused and my soul keeps telling me I'm not confused. And so I thought that this would be the perfect episode to talk about how our brain likes to say that we're confused about something and how we can really identify if it's confusion or if we know our answer, but we just don't like the answer that we're getting. And I want to share that with you guys because it's really been true for me the last few weeks, especially since COVID-19 started. So I'm going to be real and raw and vulnerable with you guys. And I know that I'm going to have, what is it like when you overshare something and then once this podcast essentially releases, I'm going to have all the regret and want to crawl under a rock and be like, oh my God, I shared too much. I opened myself up. I was basically naked in front of all of them. And now I'm embarrassed and I want to crawl under the rock. I can't think of what it's called, but that is essentially what me being honest with you guys is going to feel like for me tomorrow when I know that people are listening to this. So when all of this COVID-19 started, I was in a state of anxiety and panic, and mostly because I was worried about my grandparents getting it or people that I loved getting it and maybe dying from it, because that's a very real thing where people are dying from this. And so that's really the extent of where my anxiety was, but also a little bit of financial anxiety at the time, like not being able to practice as an occupational therapist once they eliminated the face-to-face and then offering telehealth. But I soon found out that telehealth, most of my families, I would say a good 90% of my families declined telehealth. So that left me with about 6 families out of, X amount that actually wanted to do telehealth. And so it kind of put me in a financial pickle where I had to ask myself, okay, what are we going to do? Like, we still have bills. We're still expected to pay everything on time. I don't want my husband to do this alone. We've always split everything down in the middle. That might not be how your household works, but that's always worked for us as long as we've been together. We've been together for like 10 years, and we've always split things down the middle because in addition to sharing a lot of our expenses, like a house, a mortgage, our, bills, we also have our own expenses on the side that are not joint. And so we both bring in around the same amount of money. And so we split everything in the middle, long story short. Well, with me losing an income, I didn't want that burden to really fall on my husband. And you guys know that when I'm not wearing my occupational therapy hat as an early interventionist, I am coaching and I'm creating coaching programs, and I love that. And I've told you guys that, if I had it my way, honestly, that's probably what I would be doing with my life. And then I would love for OT to be a choice. I would love to be able to cut back hours. And it's kind of like I manifested that in a sense, right? Like, I didn't ask for COVID, but COVID-19 presented the ability for me to stay home and pour my heart and soul into my business, which is exactly what I did. And I think I celebrated with you guys on the podcast that, for the month of April, I hit my highest month ever in business, even during a pandemic. And not only was it my highest gross month and even net month in business, but it was the highest amount of money I've ever made in 1 month's time, even as an occupational therapist. I've never made that much in a month as an occupational therapist. And so it was a month where I celebrated myself so big. I was implementing all of the money principles that I teach in the Manifestation Code and Money Mastery Blueprint course that I sell online. And, just really leaning into my highest self when it came to running my business and who I wanted to be in business. And, if this was my reality, if I really didn't get to go back to OT and I was going to do the damn thing, right? If I was going to lean in all the way and work my business the way that I've always said that I would, if I didn't have to do OT, then let's do it. And I kind of put on those big girl pants and I ran my business, and I made myself extremely proud, you guys. And then May 1st happened and my brain went haywire. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, because I know that other people experience this, maybe not so much in the same circumstances that I'm experiencing, but where your brain is totally in freak out mode and totally self-sabotages you before you can even do the next big thing, right? So something that I've talked about with my husband for years is I would love to be a full-time businesswoman, and I would love to get to a point where my occupational therapy career, I work anywhere with 22 kids all the way to 38 kids, give or take, right? And I've always said to him, I would love for OT to be the option and that to be the fun thing that I do on the side with maybe 10 kids, which would be 1, maybe 2 work days a week, because I love what I do with my babies. I absolutely love my families. I am very passionate about what I do, but I know that I don't want to do it the next 40 years of my life. I know that I would not be living up to my truest potential and also my deepest soul's calling if I did that for the next 40 years. That would really be me settling, because I feel something so much deeper. And I know that when I'm coaching and running my business, it lights a fire in me that I just cannot explain. It's also way scarier, but it lights something in me that I just can't even explain to you guys. So in April when I was doing this, like really pretending that I never had to go back to OT again, what I proved to myself was that I could do it. And then I had a complete panic attack because I let my mind go to the place of, what if that was just a fluke? What if that never happens again? What if that wasn't real? Which is very interesting, right? Like if you step back and you look at even my thoughts, or you observe, like if I observe my thoughts, gosh, I can't talk. I'm able to see all the ways that it started to completely self-sabotage me starting with May 1st, right? And your thoughts create your feelings, and your feelings create your actions, and your actions create your results. So I can tell you that while this month has still been a great month, it hasn't been a month like April. That's, very raw and vulnerable to say, but it's because my mind has not been in the same place. In May, it was like, or in April, it was like, all right, let's do this. Let's lean in fully to your business. Let's just, like, if you were not doing OT, let's lean in as if you were your highest self businesswoman. And I did that, and I knocked it out of the park. And then in May, it was like, oh my God, time is running out. You're going to have to go back to your job soon. And I started having all of these negative thoughts. Like, I don't want to go back to my job the way that I was doing it. I don't want to work with as many kids as I was working with. I don't want to go back. I don't want them to announce that, it's time for me to go back to work. I don't want to write the people way on top to ask to be put back into occupational therapy. I don't want that, and between that mind drama and then the mind drama of, last month was just a fluke and you'll probably never be able to make your business work. And what if you fail? And, what if you were to decide that you didn't want to go back as an occupational therapist? Then what would you have to explain to everybody? You'd have to explain it to your boss. You'd have to explain it to all of your friends. You'd have to explain it to your family. You'd have to, maybe hear your husband panic about it. If he is like, oh my gosh, you're really going to do this? I thought you were going to go back to OT. Like, oh, the mind drama. And so here's what my brain has been doing, you guys. It's been telling me I'm very confused about what to do next. Interesting, right? It's like you're very, very, very confused about what you need to do next. That's been the story that's happening in my brain over and over again. You're so confused, Macy, you don't even know what you need to do next. How many times in your life do you feel like your brain tells you, I'm really confused about what the next step is? I wish I had a magic ball to tell me the next step that I need to take. I wish I had a futuristic ball that would tell me how each decision is going to impact my life. Like, I know that people are, maybe raising their hand or nodding or just agreeing, like it's a soul yes for you. You're like, oh my God, yes. I feel confused sometimes. I don't know the next step to take, and I wish I had a magic ball to tell me if I'm making the right or wrong choice. And our brain has a sneaky way of saying, like, you're so confused, don't act. Don't act at all. Just do the thing you've always done. Be on autopilot the way that you always have. Do the thing that you've always done because that's safest. And in the last 2 weeks, I've been buffering. Part of the way that I've been buffering, which I tell you guys not to do, right? And I really work hard not to buffer, but if I'm being honest with myself, I have buffered for 2 weeks straight doing the exterior of my house. It has felt way easier to do the exterior of my house than to come in here on a podcast and tell you guys where I'm at. It feels much easier to do the exterior of my house than to get on Facebook and be super raw and vulnerable. It feels much easier to do the exterior of my house rather than face myself in the mirror and admit what it is that I truly, truly want. And so what my brain is doing in this moment is telling me that I'm confused about what to do next. But here's the thing, you guys. Most of the time, we're not confused at all. We're not confused about what we should do at all. We may feel uncertain. We may not know if the thing that we choose is going to, serve us the best. It always serves us, but is it going to serve us the best? We may not know that, but the actual truth is that when our brain tells us we're confused, we're not usually confused. We just don't like the answer. We do not like our soul's answer. It does not match what the brain is saying about autopilot. And you guys have heard me talk about all the time the 95% versus the 5%. 95% of our brain operates on autopilot, operates on familiarity, operates on what we've done a million times over, right? It's our habitual process, our habitual thinking. It's 95% of us is what, makes us who we are, because it's our thoughts we repeat so many times. It's autopilot. But when we decide to do something new, right, like start a diet or make a new decision, that comes from the 5% of our conscious decision making. And in order to make that new choice a part of our autopilot, we have to practice it so much using only 5% of essentially our willpower. We have to practice so much with our 5% of our mind that it has to be repeated until it becomes a part of the 95%. Otherwise, the 95% of our mind that likes autopilot and familiarity and likes easy and it likes, everything to be simple, it will take over. And that's why a lot of people fail at their diets. They fail at brand new promises that they're going to make for themselves at the beginning of the year. Like everybody always makes New Year's resolutions, and most of the time within 30 days of having made them, they're off the wagon, right? They've broken that promise to themselves. And that's because for their New Year's resolutions, they were using 5% of their conscious mind to decide what it was that they wanted. And then 95% of their brain kicked in and was like, no, this is not part of our autopilot. This is not what you normally do. I don't like it. I don't like you working out, 3 days a week. We normally don't work out at all. I don't like you eating salad, 5 days a week. That's not what we normally do. We normally eat Doritos, and if your 5% of your mind is not strong enough and you haven't exercised that muscle enough and you're not consciously aware of how your brain works, you fall off the bandwagon. And then you're like, yeah, I set that New Year's resolution, never ended up doing it. It was so hard to keep it. Of course it's hard. 95% of your system is working against you. So my brain is doing that in the sense that it's telling me that it's confused about something and that I should just go back to what I know. But I have to tell you guys that my soul answer, which scares the living crap out of me, is screaming at me, do not go back to work when you're allowed to go back to work. Pour all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your energy into your business. It will be the scariest thing you ever do. You will fail, you will fail, you will fail, and you will learn, but it could be the best thing you've ever done for yourself. And that's the 5% of my brain, and that's also my soul, right? But the 95% of my brain is like, that's a horrible idea. You should definitely go back to occupational therapy. Definitely get all of your kids back on your caseload that you had before COVID. Make that money, put your business back in the part-time spot. Go back to everything that you've known. Go back to driving, 37,000 miles a year. Go back to everything that was familiar. And I'm having such a strong visceral reaction that my body and my mind has basically completely shut down in the last 2 weeks. It's just like I can't even get on Facebook because it makes me mentally feel sick. Like I can't even get on Instagram and share stuff with you guys like I normally would because I just feel so emotionally drained. It's been hard for me to even do the podcast, even releasing it on, let's say, a Wednesday, because I'm just like, oh my God, this is taking so much of my energy, the quote unquote confusion that my brain is creating and trying to create for me, that it's draining me, because I know deep down what I want to do. But I also don't have a magic crystal ball that tells me if that decision is what's best for me. And what will happen when you are getting ready to step into the next level version of yourself, like you're stepping into your highest self, you're going to be met with resistance every time. And it's very, very difficult. And so what this is doing for me, when you step into your highest self, you guys, and you're practicing this work and you're really doing the inner work, you're going to find that all of your shit comes up. Everything that you're afraid of, everything you don't want to face, everything that's still kind of weak, where You could definitely use some additional coaching, right? Or counseling or mentoring. It will all come up. And so many things have been coming up for me during this time. Just when I thought that I was done with people pleasing, I'm thinking of everybody that would be disappointed in my decision, everybody that would have something to say, how many times I would have to explain myself, how many times when I fail, I might hear, "I told you so, you should have stuck with the safe thing." That alone has taken so much of my energy in the last 2 weeks. Then there's the piece of, I'm going to disappoint the families that I've worked with. Like, so many of them are texting me saying, "I can't wait to have you back." So sending them a text and being like, "Oh, by the way, I'm not coming back when this is all over." That freaking scares me and breaks my heart into a million pieces thinking of that possibility, because I love my families. So that has been taking an energetic and emotional toll on me. And then it's like, just when you think you get your money fears under control, right, then the money fears resurface, which tells me more work that I can do in my money beliefs, right? Because now it's like, and here's the craziest thing, you guys. My brain is like, go back to work when you can return back to work because that's safe, which is hilarious because even during COVID, my job was not safe. I lost my job. I was on unemployment just like everyone else. When I realized that OT was no longer safe the way that my brain thought it was, I was like, okay, what's the alternative? Okay, I work my business as if I'm a full-time businesswoman rather than treating it like a part-time side gig. And I had my biggest month in business ever, bigger than I've ever made in OT. I know I've told you guys that. So it's very interesting that my brain is pulling up these beliefs of like, yeah, go back to your job because that's safe, when in the last few months, my job hasn't been safe at all. It wasn't guaranteed money, right? So what I'm trying to communicate with you guys is that when you really do want to hit the next level version of yourself and you're met with the resistance, your brain will often shut down. Like, I think it's very normal to feel energetically drained, to just feel a lot of confusion. And it's important to remind yourself that a lot of times you're not confused. I'm really not confused as much as I am resistant to how uncomfortable it is to choose what I want to choose. I'm so afraid of the repercussions of all of it and the what ifs and the no guarantees that my brain is like, yeah, it would be way easier for you to just be the Macy you've always been rather than step into the Macy that you want to be. And the reason I want to share this podcast episode with you guys is because I know there's so many people who listen to this that are working to become the next best level version of themselves. Like, you're working to be your highest self, and it doesn't come without challenges. It doesn't come without challenges. And the thing about it is, if I do return to work, right, there's going to be lessons there for me. I'm going to see what gives me energy, what drains my energy, what are my hell no's, what are my hell yeses. I call those my soul yes and my soul no to my clients. But, I'm going to learn lessons without a doubt, even if I do return to work. But I also have the option of not doing that and leaning into my business. And with that means I also have to face a lot of the fears that I'm currently dealing with, of what if I can't make it? What if I do make it? Holy crap, I think I'm fearing some success. Like, more so than I'm fearing failure, I'm fearing if I actually become successful. What if I make a ton of money and then people judge me because they're not making money that they want to be making, or they're struggling. Like, then I'm going to be an a-hole. Like, there's just so many layers. You guys, when you go to meet the next level version of yourself, there's going to be so much resistance, and your brain will kind of like sweep all of those fears under the rug and just say, oh, we're just so confused about the next decision you should make. We're really confused about what to do. I'm actually not confused about what to do. I really think that I know what to do. I'm just resistant to what the outcomes will be when I do that. Any repercussions that I'm going to face, any pain I'm going to feel, right? The brain likes to avoid pain at all costs. Emotional pain, mental pain, physical pain. And I fear the pain that I'm going to experience so badly by making this soul decision of what my soul's calling me to do, that it's like making me miserable, and I've been hiding for 2 weeks. I've been like, yeah, let's paint the entire exterior of the house. Let me just buffer my life away because I just can't even think about what I should actually do. I can't admit it to myself. I can't say it out loud. I can't put it in a Facebook post. I can't talk about it on IG stories. I can't do it. I can't talk to my podcast friends. I can't do any of it. I'm spiraling out of control. And then today it was like, just be honest. Just share this because somebody needs to hear it. It may not be in the same context. It may not be the same circumstances, but somebody needs to hear it. And I hope that, even bringing awareness to how your mind will totally try to trick you and make you feel confused, to know that at the end of the day, your soul more than likely knows the right answer. It knows the answer. And the only reason you're feeling discomfort and the only reason you feel like you've lost your creativity, you've lost, your motivation, you're hiding, you don't want to be seen, you don't want to be talked to, you're buffering, is because your soul knows the answer and your brain doesn't like it. Your brain doesn't like it. It does not want you to feel everything that will come from following your heart and soul's deepest desire. And that's why most people in the world never reach their goals. They never go on to do the things that they think that they can do and that they more than likely can. They never reach their dreams. They never reach their goals. They never have the things they want. They never experience the things they've wanted to experience. Everything is, about their past, and they just don't get where they want to be because it's very scary to create your future. So we ride the wave as if we're a victim, and we ride the wave as if life is happening to us. But the truth is, when we can just step up, life is happening for us and we can create anything we want. And so my soul knows that. My soul knows that on the other side of this terrifying decision, that I could do something great and I can be great. But my God, the pain that I will have to endure on the way is so effing scary that it's like, no, just go back and do everything that you used to do. That will be way more comfortable. That will keep you out of excruciating pain. Like, you'll have pain because you don't really want to do it all the time, but it won't be like excruciating pain of if somebody has something to say to you, or someone makes fun of you, or someone calls you out, or it ruins a relationship, like with your coworkers or whatever. And so I just want to encourage you to think about that. When is your brain telling you that you're confused? And can you observe that you're not actually confused, that you do know the answer, but it just feels scary? Can you be that honest with yourself? It took me several weeks to do that, you guys. It took me several weeks to just flat out admit, I know the answer. I just don't like the answer. It feels scary. There's a big difference. And that is where you need to do the coaching. That's where you do the mindset work. That's where you restructure. That's where you journal. That's when you do the inner deep work, the soul work, all of that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I can't wait to talk to you again. And I hope that you're taking care of yourself. Also, if COVID-19 has stirred up a lot of financial mind drama for you, I want to let you know that I am running a sweet deal. I want to say it's between 40 and 50% off my Manifestation Code and Money Mastery Blueprint. All you have to do is go to courses.maceyrenee.com, click that program, type money in checkout, and you will get a sweet deal on that. You have lifetime access to the course. I've been getting amazing feedback on it, and I think that you will really enjoy it. So if this time period has stirred up so much uncertainty and lack, and you're just feeling icky around money in general and a lot of fear, I want to extend the offer to you that you can save a lot of money on this program if you want to completely learn how to reframe your mind and your money blueprint. Okay. So again, go to courses.maceyrenee.com, type in money at checkout for the Manifestation Code and Money Mastery Blueprint, and get that savings. You have lifetime access to the course, and you'll get lifetime access to any videos I add even after. So as soon as I upload new content, you get access to that for no additional cost. It's really a sweet deal. So nab that while you can, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye. Have a great week.